Hello and welcome to a brand new season of PonderVision, the only MCU discussion podcast hosted by me, Charlie Ashby, and my co-host.
Ash Jefferson. Sorry, I got a Discord notification right as you asked me that, and I got distracted. My bad.
My name is at blah blah blah. It says, yeah. Well, I mean, it's great to be back again. I said it in the tweet where I talked about the show coming back. Time feels strange, and I think that's the perfect sort of feeling to have around this particular show. It feels like it's been a while, but it also doesn't.
Yeah, I guess it hasn't that long, right? It's like a month. Yeah, month and some change. But,
a month and a bit. We had a bit of Star Wars in between, but it still feels like it's been a little while, which is strange, I guess.
Yeah.
There's too many ironically, there's too many timelines in my head to keep track of. Where I guess it doesn't feel that long compared to when we saw Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But then, in my mind, it was like, well, it's not been that long since Endgame. And then someone was like, we have been waiting for this cliffhanger for 2 years. I was like,
yeah.
Wait,
I was
what?
Like, Endgame did not come out 2 years ago. 20 itself just feels complete wash in a lot of ways. I just kind of don't acknowledge that it was a year. But
it's a weird, it's like a weird thing where I guess that was 2 years ago. I guess what the strands of Loki, I guess we knew were going to be answered, so it didn't really feel that off. It felt like, oh yeah. That's going to be soon. Yeah. But it has been 2 years, so I guess that's strange. I guess that's really weird. But here we are, Loki.
The show that many people have been wanting since 2012?
I guess so, yeah. People have been really, obviously people love this character for years. It feels like a whole generation has been born, has had kids, died since
2012?
Yeah, the whole Tumblr generation sort of came and went.
I was thinking about this the other day because I was on Tumblr in 2012, and that feels like millions of years ago. I was never a Loki fan. I remember I was always really annoyed with the Loki side of Tumblr, because I was very much into Marvel Tumblr, but I was not into Loki Tumblr. But yeah, so it feels like it was 20 years ago. It wasn't.
It does. It feels so strange. Everything on Tumblr was either Matt Smith, Benedict Cumberbatch, or Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, that era feels like it was so hard.
It was so hate. But and here we are getting ready to watch Morbius, starring Matt Smith, which we're excited for. No, I am really.
Yeah, we're so excited for it.
I mean, God knows what's happening with that. But I am really excited about the show. I was amped for it. I have always loved Loki. I think he's a fantastic villain. I've always loved him in the comics. The visual design, I always loved him. I always remember my first sort of glimpses of him was during one of my favorite comic runs, which was the JMS JRJR runs of Amazing Spider-Man. And there's this issue of Spider-Man and Loki on a rooftop eating hot dogs and just chilling. And Spider's I've had a lot of weird stuff happen to me recently. Usually I deal with crazy people in bird costumes, but I've been dealing with a lot of magic stuff, and I just my life is being controlled by some weird other bigger source. And Loki's yeah, I get you there. So when I was looking back at that after this, I was oh, that's kind of funny, because I guess he's always had that sort of relationship with people dictating things.
Yeah. I was never really much of a Loki fan. I think it had a lot to do with why I wasn't much of a Bucky Barnes fan too. It's just the internet kind of ruined it for me. At a certain point, you're just kind of you associate the character with all the cringy people that are big fans of that character who acted ridiculous back in the day, or who I thought acted ridiculous back in the day. But this episode really in Ragnarok. And I think I actually like Loki when he's being kind of a decent person with the kind of manipulative, mischievous element to it, which is why I really liked like this episode. I made a tweet about it as a joke, but it's true. I was like, I hate or I don't like Loki. Marvel, we're gonna make him a sad boy. Me. Ah! Damn it!
My kryptonite. Sad boys.
I love a sad boy.
And again, I feel like what's interesting about the show is that we all assumed, obviously, delving into a TV show dedicated to these characters would provide some deeper interrogation and analysis of these characters. But I never really sort of, I guess with Wanda and Bucky, it immediately jumped out to mind that if there'd be like therapy sessions. But for Loki, I wasn't really expecting that. And I guess that these shows are kind of their own therapy sessions for these broken individuals in their own sense.
And you got to appreciate that Loki is like incredibly honest by the end of this. It doesn't take the entire series for him to be honest about. It's not like this is the question, why does Loki hurt people? And it will be answered by the end of the show.
Yeah.
He answers it by the end of this episode, which I thought was really interesting that they went in that direction.
Yeah, and I don't think that undermines his previous arc at all either, because the whole point of the previous arc is that there was mistrust and mixture of feelings and lack of growth on all sides. Thor couldn't straight up tell him, but in Thor 2, that he loves and trusts Loki, because that wouldn't be the case. That would have been a lie. So to see Loki actually see these moments of unbridled truth, Odin on his deathbed, like he wouldn't lie like that. Seemingly he
sacrificing himself for Thor.
Yeah,
right?
For Thor. And seemingly, I guess, probably assumes Thor is dead. Because the ship blows up and then it cuts off.
That is all he sees. Yeah. I didn't think about that.
So, yeah, because we always just assume next time Thor sees Loki, you're like, oh, Loki, you survived. Well, actually, it's going to be like them both reacting kind of strange. Like, oh, well, you survived. Well, not really, but you survived? Like, it's going to be this sort of strange little back and forth, especially because it won't be the same Loki at all.
Yeah.
It'll be Loki.
It's a really interesting way to like get Loki to have that previous, I guess, character arc, but make it a different kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
Like this Loki doesn't experience all those things, but he sees them happen. So he obviously is going to be he obviously was affected by that. He cries when he sees his mother. I can't remember when he started crying specifically, but he cries when he sees his mother die. Yeah, and then he cries harder when Odin says, "I love you, my sons," right? Like, because that's presumably what he's always wanted to hear.
Yeah, he's always wanted to belong and to feel loved. And a lot of that, like he says, a lot of that anger and resentment and pushing outwards is to feel that sense of belonging and to earn that place as well. And it's clear, like, you see the footage, he did that by being a better person. And it's interesting to see where that goes as well, because yes, that's his growth and that's his arc, but also it's inferred that that was the sort of the track that the TVA designed for him, which ends at a certain point. So I guess there's pros and cons out of that whole discussion, because he looks at that footage and he's like, this is clearly what I want from that, but also I can push against that because I don't want to end up dead, and I don't want to, and we'll get into this a little bit more, like we'll go a bit more chronologically in a minute, but like the whole debate of free will or something is really interesting, and I think will be a big topic.
We're going to find out that the TVA is kind of a scam kind of thing.
It's absolutely bullshit.
Yeah, like it's 100. There's no way that it's like what it is saying it is, I think.
No.
And
that's what made me laugh a lot, because there's a lot of I'll be honest, I did a lot of debating on Twitter yesterday. I got very angry about certain things, and I'm like, I think sometimes people read into stuff too much, either too much or just don't even listen to the basics. It's like the show didn't say that the Netflix and ABC shows didn't happen. That's not the case.
That's not what it's saying. No.
Like, I know a lot of people saying, "Oh, because they mentioned Agent Coulson dying." I'm like, the whole point of that show is predicated on the fact that he did die. It isn't.
He did die. Coulson, that happened.
Yeah, Coulson didn't escape death in terms of like ta-da, he died and they brought him back. That's the difference. And also, it doesn't say, like, yeah, Owen Wilson's not going to go, yeah, I guess in season 1. Like, he's not going to tell you the plot to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because it's a different
I didn't
TV
get
show.
that impression. I didn't get that impression at all. I think the Netflix shows did happen. And I honestly think that we're going to see them again. I think Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, I think they're going to show up again. I just don't think we're going to be getting like season 4 of Daredevil, right? I think
no, of course not. No. And even then, like, even if it is like a multiverse, like I know that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the latter seasons explore different multiversal concepts and the idea that maybe this isn't the exact same MCU. That still can exist.
That's partially why I think it's all BS, because we know that, because they're talking about a universal timeline, right? But the Ancient One is talking in Endgame even about how there's different timelines and different, and I trust the Ancient One more than, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe Tilda Swinton just has a trustful face or whatever. I don't know, but
that lovely bald head. You can't lie about the bald head. No, and then that was another thing that bothered me, like the idea that the multiverse is a lie. There is no multiverse. That's not true either, because all the TVA does is structures time, like reality is created around timelines and how the timeline changes. But that doesn't affect other dimensions. Like the dark dimension, the soul dimension that we see where like Gamora was, and the mirror dimension, they're not affected by time. They're different parts of space. So they're still part of the multiverse.
Yeah, there's definitely something else going on, right? Like I think
absolutely.
I think it's pretty obvious that like there is something else clearly happening here that we're going to probably find. There is probably going to be a reason why Loki, I don't know what Loki is going to be, but there's probably a reason why Loki is going around, because that's the big, like, we're jumping ahead here, but
no,
that's the big, teaser, I guess, is that Loki's the one killing the TVA agents, right? So,
which
I
think, just want to say, called it.
You did call it. You did absolutely 100% call it. Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's definitely more than what we're seeing here. You know?
Yeah, and there's a lot of people give a lot of credit to the TVA explaining it. It's like watching a government advert saying, "This is what we do," and going, "See, that explains it."
I mean, it even had like the vibe of propaganda.
Yeah.
Right? Like the cartoony style and Miss Minutes and like.
But like, I guess it's difficult because from my point of view as a comics fan, and I guess and you as well, we're watching this going, so what? One of the people is Kang the Conqueror. And we're supposed to be like, they're the good guys. Like, you know. But also, even if you throw that, like, crush that paper up, throw it in the bin, don't even think about the whole comic of it all. Because maybe Kang the Conqueror, that might change the backstory. Look at what the episode shows us. There's a reason why they don't show us the pruning of timelines. Because my immediate thought was, that's a red flag. Like the fact that they didn't show it, because it certainly suggested to me that potentially they're destroying these timelines. Yeah.
No, I did. My whole thing is I was not taking what they were saying at face value, because that video is described. I mean, it's describing what the TVA is for like the average everyday variant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not going to go, and here's the actual specifics of what we do. I'm sure like as we go on, we will figure out more about the TVA. And I think that's probably what Loki's going to like be getting himself into. I'm really excited to see. I love when Marvel is weird. I really like.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, WandaVision is like my favorite thing in the MCU ever. And I love when Marvel's just like, we're doing some weird stuff. Enjoy. Not that I don't like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's just, this is more my speed, I think.
I definitely agree. And again, it reminds me, we say this all the time, these shows are like comic books. And although I like The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's a fantastic graphic novel, I feel like you have to be really drawn from issue one. Like if there's like a particularly good series that you can go, but I remember specifically being drawn in by like issue one because it's just like the art was amazing. Like it stood out to me. This feels very much like that.
Yeah.
WandaVision, I kind of cheated because we got the first 2 episodes at once.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like this is the first time we get to see like a fully on like, can an episode 1 really get us hooked? And I felt like they did a really great job at setting up the world, having a lot of exposition, but in a really interesting way.
And
Again,
making you probably more sympathetic to Loki than maybe you would have been otherwise, I think, for maybe like the average viewer. Because Loki is a villain for a lot of people, right? A lot of people are just going to remember Loki as like, oh yeah, the bad guy from Avengers 1. You know, like, so how do you like sell your normal Disney Plus subscriber on a Loki show? Well, you have to make them a little bit more sympathetic, I think. And I think they succeeded. I think
100%. They did a really great job at, one, making sure that his previous arc wasn't undermined. Mm-hmm. 2, using that arc to further the character in different new ways, interesting ways. And 3, helping sell the idea of the multiverse and the idea of where we can go forward. And also, I guess, like, sort of pushing forward the status quo of the post-Infinity saga and how, like, it doesn't necessarily, it's not undermining, but it does a really great job at showing how powerful the TVA are and the bigger threats now that the Avengers and whoever in the galaxy has to face. I thought it was a really,
the way to demonstrate that with just the Infinity Stones in that drawer.
Right? Yeah, in the drawer. And, like, multiple versions of them. Which, I just want to say, do you think Natasha's like, fuck this? He's like, you're telling me we could have just broken into this drawer and stolen the Soul Stone? And she's like, and I died for nothing. Or Vision.
Yeah, Vision. Like,
I want there to be a sequence like, you know, in Endgame, when you see Thor and Rocket sort of sneaking past the cell with Loki. I want there to be a sequence where maybe it's like Wanda in Doctor Strange 2 breaking into the TVA. She's like, yoink, I'll take that. White Vision, come here. Just throws it at his head. It becomes normal again.
But you can't deny the absolute tragic romantic potential of like Vision, White Vision, being powered by Wanda's power. And then maybe
that's
like coming back to be regular Vision, right?
Like a Disney character. Like he goes, or like in Shrek. He just has all energy around him and he turns color again.
Wanda just kisses him and he turns red.
I love you, Wanda. Oh, that'd be great. But yeah,
I'm not above admitting I like some cheesy romantic nonsense in my Marvel stuff.
And yeah, there's a lot of really great stuff that I feel like they get to explore a bit more with Loki as a character that we don't really get to see in the films. I always love it when he transforms, and we got like, I think it's like a different take from Endgame, not necessarily the same scene from Endgame. I think there's like one new shot of him in the elevator, and then I think the Steve Rogers scene was slightly changed, which I really liked as well. I like it when he changed, like he just transformed stuff. They also confirmed his gender fluidity, which I thought was really cool as well, because something we've been talking about for a while is that we really want to see Lady Loki, which I feel like is very much might be the case for this show. It just depends.
My only hope is that I hope they don't say that like Lady Loki is like an alternate version of Loki, because Lady Loki is like
Loki.
It's Loki, right?
Yeah.
And being like gender fluid is not two separate people of two separate genders, you know?
Yeah, I feel like because it says gender fluid on our variant of Loki, I'm hoping that's the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I feel like hopefully that comes across. The more I was thinking about it, it's like the more I'm not even convinced that the Loki we see in the trailer with the vote Loki could be our Loki, could be a different version of Loki, could be the Lady Loki. I say Lady Loki just because I mean in terms of
differentiate it,
the variant. I'm sure when we find out the specific variant code, that'll be as catchy. But yeah, I really like that fact. I thought the reveal was really cool It's what I kind of expected. I think the idea of having a show called Loki about Loki, the villain's Loki, is genius. But I want to commit to the fact that I still don't think these are the only Lokis we're going to be seeing.
No, me neither. I think. Well, we know Richard E. Grant's in this, right?
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. I think they're going to set it up that everyone's going to assume that Lady Loki is the villain, and it's going to be Old Man Loki.
Because let's be honest, Richard E. Grant looks like comic Loki.
He does.
I mean, comic Loki pre-2012, when he just kind of looked like Hugo Weaving. Like, let's be honest.
Loki was... Have you read the recent 4 runs with when they look at like the Old Man Loki from the future?
Yeah, I've seen. I haven't read them, but I've seen.
He's got the proper like slicked back, greasy hair,
the really long horns,
curly horns, and like the sort of the skinnier body. And I love it. I want to see that. And you could just imagine him with some, like bubble gum.
I remember back in like 2011 or 2010 when I think they announced him. People were like, this was an actual topic of discussion. People were like, Loki's too hot.
I mean, he's the god of mischief. Of course he's hot.
I remember people were saying similar things. My dad told me people were telling me saying similar things about Wolverine back in 2000 or 2000, whenever the first X-Men movie came out. He's like, yeah, I had friends that were like, who were upset about how hot Hugh Jackman was and how tall Hugh Jackman was because they thought Wolverine should be like a weird looking dude.
I mean, the tall thing I can get, but I feel like
I get the tall, I get the height, but
the hot thing is like he won over Jean Grey. Come on.
And it wasn't because of his personality. No, I'm kidding.
It's like everyone I love dies. Bang. Oh, Wolverine. Oh, bless his heart. Sorry, you go.
We got to get back into podcasting.
We're both too excited about this.
Yes. I this entire episode was just really good. I liked that it was mainly focused on like Loki as a character. In a weird way, there's like so many things going on, but at the same time, it's Loki being like, no, you don't control my life. You don't dictate my decisions. You know, I do. Because that's Loki's whole thing, right? And when he steps away from Asgard, his whole thing is like, I am controlling my own destiny now.
Yes.
Not my father, not my brother, not anybody. So,
and I thought what was really clever is the way they reused dialogue, and it physically shows him how he projects himself onto things. I don't know how many times you watched the episode, but it only clicked on like the second go when the whole thing he describes himself as is exactly what he says to the TVA. He says how it's the weak projecting, it's an illusion, the weak projecting, wanting power.
Yeah, that's what
it's literally. It just repeats what he actually means about himself. And I thought that was a really clever way of like showing how he deals with situations. And I think even in Avengers, he's conflicted.
Because I think like, even at the end of the day, like Loki is he's a sad person who wants approval by his family.
Yeah.
Right?
Like he does mess up things for approval.
And I think in a weird, like, twisted way, he thinks that doing what he wanted to accomplish in Avengers would get him that approval by his father, right? Maybe his father would see, like, that he was capable of ruling, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Because he always had that relationship where, like, and then when he finds out he's adopted, he's suddenly like, oh, this makes complete sense. Why you love Thor more than me. So I think it's really interesting. I guess Loki's always been kind of a sympathetic villain in that regard.
It's why
this really hit home.
Yeah. It's why I really, and I know people sort of skip this, but it's why I really appreciate the first Thor movie, because to Kenneth Branagh's credit, like, I think he was such a great director for that film because it is so Shakespearean, the tragedy of it all. And I love the concept of Yeah, no, he doesn't give a shit about Laufey. Like, he may be Laufey's son, but he's not Laufey's son. Like, Odin's his dad. And that's why he does all that stuff. It's like, you go, oh, of course, now he wants to turn against his adopted dad because he doesn't really care about who he's. It's like, no, he loves the person who raised him because he saved him as an infant.
And, you can kind of infer that he always kind of felt like he was second to Thor in his father's eyes, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. He always
and then
felt...
he finds out he's adopted, and it all makes sense, right? It all tracks. It's like, that's why I think the line is like, that's why you could never love me. You could never love a frost giant kind of thing. But that never really like comes up again.
No, like the whole point, like that's what I liked about that film is like you just assume, oh, because he found out about his real heritage, he hates his dad, and therefore he wants to get rid of them. And really, it's no, I want to impress him and show him how good I am.
I want to prove that I'm good enough for him, right?
And yeah, and I feel like that does come across kind of in certain ways, and the fact that they don't kill him, I think is a big one. God knows what they would have done in terms of if Frigga survived and the Dark Elves didn't invade. Maybe they would have let him go after a certain point. We could only imagine. Yeah, it's interesting. It'd be interesting to see where they would have gone with that. Maybe in the What If season 2. But yeah, it's nice to see that the character, because at that point we see him obviously have like certain, I guess, misgivings about what he's doing. Clearly in Avengers, he's doing what he's doing for a reason. He's like, I'm not defending his actions completely, but also he's definitely terrified of Thanos.
Yeah, there's definitely something with Thanos there that we really don't get time to
explore, right?
Explore, yeah. But he's definitely afraid of Thanos, right?
And and I think what's interesting as well is like there's a lot, and I think they do kind of explore it a bit in this episode, which is the idea of power and what he conceives of power. Like obviously for him at that point, the Infinity Stones was a major power source, and the fact that I guess Thanos entrusted the Mind Stone with him to then go off and achieve and receive the Tesseract was a big thing for him, because then he had 2 Infinity Stones, which I guess at that point would have been the most anyone would have had, I guess, really. Yeah, I guess because Asgard had 2 at one point, but they got rid of it because they knew that would have been a big issue. So yeah, so when he sees them all in the drawer, and he's like, "Oh, the TVA is a big deal. Like this is what power is." I really did appreciate that scene.
I think what's really interesting what they did in this episode too is like, it's clear that Loki doesn't actually want power. He just thinks, because when he's asked directly why, he's like,
I think we've all been there where we're like, yeah, I want that. And you're like, what would you do with it? And you're like, I don't know. I just want to have the same thing. Like, I want to have that respect. And you're right. Yeah, it's like, and that's what I really love.
Charge. Why?
And that's what I really love about Mobius's character, is that he doesn't bullshit Loki. Like Loki's so used to people having
or being afraid of him. Yeah.
Yeah, having an agenda though as well, or Loki being afraid of them. Like he's so used to people having an agenda or a certain way. When Mobius says something, he means it. So when he says like, "Why don't you become the king of space?" And he's like, "You're mocking me." He's like, "No, I'm truly not. Like I'm telling you, like it seems like the sort of thing you'd be into." And Loki seems almost taken aback by the fact that Mobius is just honest with him, which I also appreciate.
But I also think that Mobius has some kind of agenda going on there too.
Which, yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm 50-50 with that.
We'll see.
I think Ravana has, because I read comics. So yeah, Renslayer, I think, definitely has something going on. But when it comes to Mobius and the others, I'm not 100% certain. Because of the way the dialogue played out. Especially with, what was his name? The guy with the Infinity Stones. Who's Pillboy from The Good Place.
Yeah.
It seems to suggest that he was born to work at a desk.
Yeah, it seems like they were all created to work there, right?
So it's like, are they like? I know I'm interested. Will that lead into a bit of the dialogue about free will? Like, or will in some way Loki influence these people to rise up against the TVA?
Maybe that's where we get the vote Loki thing.
That would be great. He's like, I want to be in charge. I'm the new god. That'd be awesome. I'd love that. There's just so many things to delve into, I guess, for this episode. There's so much to talk about. I mean, the Kang the Conqueror stuff, obviously really interesting. And, you know, in the comics, we're not entirely sure, 100%, but there's the idea that he might be related to the Richards. So that might be a link to the Fantastic Four when that comes down the line. God.
So much stuff.
So much comic stuff to talk about. Yeah, overall, I thought this was a really great episode. I really loved seeing every aspect. Like, I knew the cast was amazing going into it. So many great, talented people. But every aspect of the show was just fantastic. The score was incredible.
Beautiful. Yeah, the score was amazing.
Stunning. Yeah, the score was amazing. The cast were awesome. The set design, the animation, the first official Tara Strong appearance in the MCU, which I love. Having a bit of Harley Quinn. Yeah. What did you think?
I thought it was just... I was, like, really hooked from the very beginning. And there, you know, which is... I mean, I was that way for WandaVision, mostly just because I was really loving the Dick Van Dyke Show elements. But it's kind of hard for me to, like, 100% focus on something because of my ADHD adult brain. But I was just, like, zoned in this entire time. Because I was just like, what the hell is going on here?
And do you know what, as well, is I thought the way they did exposition was fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like you have just enough information to understand what's going on for the people that may not know, like, where in the timeline, what Loki this is. Like, it gives you that little thing at the beginning where it's like, this is what happened. Like, if you want to catch yourself up, and then it explains all the TVA stuff in really simple ways, but in a narratively driven way. Because it's kind of explaining it to Loki as well. And it's not somebody sitting at a desk saying, this is the TVA and yada, yada. They did a fun thing with, like, the cartoon thing.
Which, yeah.
Miss Minutes is Mephisto calling it out. No, I'm kidding.
I ever thought Loki is the image of Loki in the church was Mephisto. Because, like, oh, devil. I'm like, don't go down that road.
Stop doing the Listen. I don't think it's Mephisto.
It was confirmed to not be Mephisto.
It's a narrative device. It's not the first time you've seen this where someone's like, it was the devil in a church.
Well, Kate Herron said specifically, obviously, like, the horns represent obviously the horns on Loki's helmet, and also he's a fallen angel from heaven, like Satan.
It's not Mephisto.
Yeah. No, Mephisto is going to show up in the next Spider-Man film when he takes away.
I think Mephisto is going to show up eventually. I just don't think it's going to be here.
Yeah, I hope so. We want our 60 Devil Boy to have a whole season towards himself. Yeah, there's a lot of things like people were like, oh, the Nightmare Department. Oh, Doctor Strange. And I was like, I don't know about that. I think it's the joke. But you never know.
I think it's been really great being able to not focus on, because I haven't read, like, any internet chatter, and my Twitter's pretty dry just because of the people that I follow are not, like, lots of Marvel nerds. So I have no idea what people are even speculating about, and I think that's great. I think being allowed to be in my own brain and talk to you about it and have a nice day has been very great.
Meanwhile, I'm the opposite. I'm like, people are driving me crazy. I was like, I'm going to start my day off relaxed, calm, meditated. And then within about 30 minutes, I was like posting a screenshot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the Rotten Tomatoes score, like 90%, 94% going, look at that! calm down, everyone. Like, no, a Marvel Studios project didn't say this other stuff doesn't matter. That's not what they would do, because one, that would be cruel anyway. Two, especially when those shows have a lot of diversity in them.
And there's a reason that show went on for what, 7 seasons?
Yeah, it's the reason why it's critically loved as it went on.
That show.
Yeah. It just seems weird, like people like jumping, and like the Netflix stuff, like not all the Netflix stuff was fantastic, but you know.
But the Netflix stuff is like, it's easy enough to. It makes sense where they cut the Netflix stuff because Disney Plus was going to be a thing. Mm-hmm. But it's easy enough to just call Kristen Ritter and be like, "Yo, want to be in Hawkeye?" Like they're still under talk. It's not like.
What are you up to? Want to be in Hawkeye? Yeah, well, fuck it. Just walking past the street. Hello.
It's just she like kicks a trash can in the background or something.
It's like when I was playing Spider-Man PS4. I just landed by this. I was just going through every location in the Marvel universe, going to taking selfies. I've got so many images of me with Nelson and Murdoch going. Or there's one of Josie's. I was like,
yeah, pointless. Yeah, it's not like those actors can't be in MCU stuff in the future or anything. I don't know. It's just,
and even then, it's like with the Netflix and even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there's no point writing it all off because that's stupid.
It also doesn't really affect anything because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was not really allowed to play in the major Marvel universe anyway. No, they were like, yeah, you can have Inhumans.
Yeah, they're the only ones who did Inhumans right.
We don't talk about. I got that. I went on Disney Plus the other day, and it was like recommended for you, the Inhumans TV show. I was like, how dare you?
It is funny though, like when you can, like if you were to say talk about 10 years ago, in terms of Inhumans, like which character do you think that Marvel television would get correct in live action?
Black Bolt,
the royal family, or Quake? I'm gonna go with.
I will forever be devastated how that Inhumans show turned out.
It's easy to retcon though. I feel like you could like joke that it's like.
I feel like honestly, if Feige was gonna be like, yeah, we're doing Inhumans, can you just forget that first thing ever happened? I'd be like, absolutely, 100. Nobody watched it anyway. Me and 4 other people watched it. That's it. So like,
there's poor 4 people.
I went to go see. I think I've told this story on the podcast before. I went to go see that in the IMAX premiere. I paid $18 for that.
Was that the 4? Was it like 4D where you can smell the shit coming through the screen? Or...
It was just IMAX. It was just in IMAX.
Like, why did I pay this?
No, about like 5 minutes in, I'm like, I have made a mistake.
The problem with that show is that everyone who could have stopped it also had Black Bolt's power, and they just couldn't speak out. So, does anyone have any issues with the fact that we're going to shave her hair off? It's like
in the first episode.
I can't talk. It'll blow up the world. It's ridiculous. Yeah, like
get distracted talking about Inhumans. I'll just get too mad.
I mean, that's the thing though. Like with me, that with these shows, I feel like if anyone can take something and slice the bits that aren't necessarily working or perfect, and then repackage it and make it work overall in terms of the overall universe, it's Marvel Studios.
Yeah,
I don't think Kevin Feige is going to look at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and go, we'll throw this in the bin. That's not the case. And it's the same with the Netflix shows. There's no way he can go, well, I guess Luke Cage season 2 was terrible. Well, I guess we'll just never use that character again. Makes no sense. It's what... And I feel like the show and also Endgame are perfect examples of what they do well, which is they take a film which isn't necessarily the best film. But I think I'd argue it's one of the... I really enjoy it still. I think it's a good film. I don't think it's perfect. I think it's very low down on my list of MCU films. For the Dark World, could you imagine going back to 2016, Civil War comes out, going back in time and saying, For the Dark World will have a huge bearing on future projects. You'd be like, shut up. You're an idiot. Like, no, that doesn't. And then you watch Endgame, and you're like, okay, well, Jesus Christ, I guess they've just won me over in For the Dark World. And then they did it again this week with Loki.
Yeah, it's imagine going back to 2015, Age of Ultron has just come out, and walk up to some random person on the street and be like, yo, you know the robot and that girl with the red magic powers? They're gonna be in the best Marvel TV show.
They're gonna straight up be horny on a Disney platform. And you're gonna watch it.
You're gonna watch it and you're gonna love it.
You're gonna cry about it. They're gonna have twins, and then we won't see them until Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange 2. What the fuck are you talking about?
Oh yeah, Sam Raimi's gonna make a Doctor Strange movie. Wait, who the fuck is Doctor Strange?
Whoa. What? I don't have the Scarlet Witch and America Chavez. What? By the way, have you seen the artwork from that?
I have. I think you tagged me in it on Twitter. Yeah,
It's so good. I love how something absolutely fucking redundant as they've given Wanda extra sleeves. Makes me go, ooh. Like, wow. Like, now it's like the comic books. It's like we're such losers, I guess. Like, like, wow. I guess we get to see a bit less of Wanda's arms. That's going to be fun to watch on the big screen.
Is it bad that I had the same reaction? I was like, ooh, look at the costume.
Like, wow. I can't believe like Doctor Strange has got slightly grayer temples.
I wonder if he's going to wear the yellow gloves.
Oh my god, don't, because I actually am excited. Like, oh, I just can't wait for these.
At the end of Doctor Strange where they tease Thor Ragnarok and he has the gloves on, I remember at the time watching in the theater with my sister and going, oh my god, he has the gloves.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's like, oh, they're doing the thing from the book. You're like, what? I mean, it for like 5 seconds. I was like, Jesus Christ.
If we get the black and red Stephen Strange costume, I will faint in the theater.
That would be cool. I did something the other day where it was like, it was a point where I was going to make a negative point, and I, in my brain, did that, and it turned it around into a positive point so strangely. I was like, I don't know if you've seen the Avengers Disney park thing they just announced. Like, they just revealed the Spider World, whatever it's called. Web. What is it called? Web?
Avengers. It's the Avengers Campus?
Avengers Campus, and then there's the Web.
Yeah.
Place. Web. Peter's place. And I was like, because they introduced the concept. Because in the first in the Spider-Man Homecoming, we have Karen, who is played by Jennifer, aka the wife of the Vision. And then in Far From Home, we have Edith. And I was like, okay, that's strange. I get the joke they were trying to make with even Dead I'm the Hero. That was fun. I was like, oh, it's just kind of a shame they didn't bring back the first voice. And then, judging by the sound effects of the voiceover, which is Tom Holland in the Avengers Campus, it sounds like he has a new voice called Sharon. And I was like, why do they keep giving him different, like, female Jarvises? And then I was going to make like a negative point, like, what? They couldn't just get Jennifer Connelly back to do a Disney park. And I was like, he's Peter Parker. He goes through women like crazy. This just makes more sense. This is absolutely a Peter Parker move. Like, he's got like...
That's how we get MCU Jocasta.
He's got like different names. It's like, that was an actual thing. I think Jocasta was actually in Iron.
Yeah, it was in Age of Ultron when Tony was like fumbling trying to find Friday's voice.
What the fuck happened to Friday? Does Friday like work for Pepper now? Because I don't want her to be like buried in the casket.
I never liked Friday.
J'accuse. I love Friday. That's because I'm core Irish, though.
Yeah.
Multiple contusions corrected. Yeah, I can.
I like the Irish aspect of it.
Yeah. I liked Friday. I like that Jarvis died. He's like, fuck you. I've got like 10 of the other ones I can use. Yeah, I'd be interested to see where they go with those characters. And like I said, like we said, you could have Daredevil appear in the next Spider-Man film and say, yeah, I fought ninjas. And you'll be like, okay. That's all you need.
I'm Daredevil. That's it.
Hi, I'm Daredevil. Bye. Bye, Daredevil. Yeah, like that's all you really need.
I mean, I'm still holding out just because I love their relationship in the comics. I'm still holding out on Jessica Jones being in Hawkeye in some capacity. I think that would be amazing.
That'd be cool. I feel like we would have seen it.
It would have been leaked by now, for sure. But
we say that, and then
who knows? Yeah, but going back to Loki as we wrap this up, I guess I'm so excited to see what happens. I'm so excited for weird stuff. Magic shit and weird sci-fi stuff is my jam. So I'm very excited.
I really love the weirder they go, the more sci-fi crazy aspects. When it feels like a comic book, that's always the best time. It's the reason why, again, my favorite, I think, although I think Spider-Man 2 is still my favorite Spider-Man film, I think the most Spider-Man sequence of all time was in Far From Home, with the Mysterio sequence. That is just pure comic book. The more they go pure comic book, the more I love it.
Yeah, and I like that we're moving into an era where they're not afraid to do that stuff anymore, because for a while they were.
Yes.
You know, and it's like Hawkeye can't be from the circus.
He can't be deaf.
There is a set picture of him with hearing aids.
There is. I know. That's why I was like...
That is the hope I am holding out for. Because for those of you who don't know, I'm hard of hearing and I wear hearing aids. And Hawkeye was a very big, influential comic in my life. So I've always been angry that they didn't make him deaf. But anyway.
Like, I've killed so many Japanese people. I just can't hear anymore. I think they've punched me in the ear a few many times. I wonder how they're going to delve into that. I'm still convinced that his wife left him. It's like Linda Cardinale is like, I'm not living with you. You're a serial killer.
She just finds out all the shit that he did. That would track. Hawkeye being divorced is a thing.
Yeah, he's got a trophy. He's got a trophy room.
There's a whole issue in the Fraction Hawkeye run where it's just his ex-girlfriends and him teaming up with Kate Bishop and getting into misadventures.
It's just him, Natasha's body, and oh god, that's why he's with Yelena. Like, you're close enough.
No comment.
That's why she's in Hawkeye. She's like, excuse me? He's like, sorry, I thought you were someone else. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where this goes. I'm excited to see if we get more cameos and different appearances. Different versions of characters maybe we might see. It will be really interesting to see.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see this other version of Loki. I wonder if they're gonna hide that for a while or just reveal it next episode. I guess we'll see.
I hope they reveal it next episode, but I don't think they will. I don't know. I want to be really surprised. I want them to.
How many episodes Loki is?
6.
6? Okay.
Which I was the same. Suggest that they might show it next week, but then we've got the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, that was kind of a slow burn in some cases. So
yeah,
I'm glad
that they're not. I'm glad that they're not sticking to like what the Netflix show did with like with the hard 13 episodes, because some of those Netflix shows did not need 13 episodes.
No. This week, Daredevil goes to the toilet, but he can't pee.
That's what it felt. That's what Jessica Jones season 2 felt like a lot. I was like,
yeah,
I don't care about any of this.
I read an arc. I haven't watched Jessica Jones season 3. Have you seen?
Nope.
And I read I guess it spoiled it for me. I don't know. I don't want to spoil it. Can I spoil it for you? Like, I haven't really watched it.
I don't care.
It was like Trish gets arrested. And I was like, what the fuck happens in season 3 of Jessica Jones that I missed?
Apparently, a lot.
Like, apparently, like, she becomes bad. I was like, that's not a Hellcat. Like, this is bullshit. I don't trust this.
Jessica Jones, and it pains me to say this because Alias is my favorite comic of all time, which is the original run Jessica Jones in it. But for those of you who don't know, that's where she was introduced. Yeah, Jessica Jones outside of season 1, not good, not great.
I didn't mind season 2. I thought season 2 was okay. I liked the stuff with Malcolm, but the mum stuff was like, okay, well, whatever. Yeah. Creepy doctors are always cool, though. Yeah. I'm a sucker for creepy doctors.
And the fact that they refused to introduce Danielle really annoyed me. Yeah. I was like, this is like so much of her character is her kid and her relationship with Luke Cage, which you've just completely written away, but okay.
I still think they should just make it really fucking weird and confirm that she was in class with Peter Parker. One of my favorite parts of the comics is when she's like, "Oh my god, Peter Parker!" He's like, "Wait, what?" She's like, "We went to school together."
Coma Girl, I remember. My favorite one is when she's like, "I had a big old crush on you in high school," and Luke Cage is there, and he's just like, "You had a what?" And then later in the they're all sitting in the Quinjet, and he's sitting with Spider-Man. And Spider-Man's like, "Look, listen, I'd never do, like, your wife had a crush on me, but it's okay. You know, I'd never do anything." And then Luke just goes, "Clint, fly the damn plane!"
He's like, this dweeb?
Just desperately trying to get out of the conversation.
It's so funny because, like, Luke Cage is, like, the most, masculine, strong guy. And then Spider-Man's just like, I can't afford... It's hilarious because that's my favorite part about Spider-Man is that he's in this room with the Avengers and they're all like gearing up and he's like, I can't even afford pizza. I think it was the Hickman Avengers run when they did Avengers World. One of my favorite panels is when they're recruiting the new Avengers and then Iron Man's like, we've got money. Peter's like crying. He's like, thank you. Like, I need this. Love that stuff. But yeah, Loki wise, I'm really intrigued to see who we might see. I will say this though. Did you see the tweet about the background variant that people were talking about?
No.
So that it was trending, and I thought it was very silly because it is very silly. And it's probably just a random thing. But people are convinced that there is a duplicate in Loki that looks like Peggy Carter. You can't really see that one.
That's not Peggy Carter.
Look, she's got 1940s hair.
Oh my god.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's like Peggy, but I don't think it's that off either.
It's not that. Okay, it's not that. It's not the craziest thing I've heard about this show so far.
Like for a clear kind of like zoomed in shot.
Yeah, that.
It would be funny though.
It would be funny if Peggy just shows up.
You want to tell me about her? I don't think I will. She was taken after I kissed her. They just punch Steve in the face and drag her off. He's like, I had the most miserable 8 years of my life. I ended up marrying her niece. I was like 50.
That's probably a good place to call it for the afternoon, I feel.
Which again, yeah, it's another people debating that whole thing again because it's like, do we trust what the TVA are saying? Because does that mean Steve lived with Peggy?
I guess they did say the Avengers were supposed to do that. But
yeah, but the Avengers also brought stuff back. which I guess is what their point was, right? Like the point was that the Avengers were always supposed to bring the stones back, which they did, but Loki running off was not supposed to happen. So it's like depends, like 'cause the one timeline, I guess, is the big issue. Like it'll be interesting. I hope they will say that, oh yeah, obviously the TVA are lying. There's different timelines, and that the one timeline is one that they can just manipulate for their own whatever. Because it wouldn't make too much sense if Steve lived with Peggy, even though she what they hire a random dude to be her husband in that video. Steve's directing it. He's like, say some really good shit about me. He's like, Steve saved my husband. Like this guy's like, I don't know who you are. Like you hired me. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Captain America did some really cool stuff.
The rules seem so weird. You know?
Yeah.
But...
And even Michael Waldron straight up said, like, yeah, it was really complicated, and we had to go back and look through and make some decisive rules and debates. And they had so many. Apparently, they had like so many debates, and like they had so many whiteboards with timelines and like lines and tangents. And he said that sometimes people would walk into a room and not distinguish. Like if you were like a normal person, you wouldn't distinguish these two timelines. But in the writers' room, they could see the differences and go, no, that's wrong. You're stupid. That's not how it goes. Like, it has to be this line. And like, I love that. I want to see everything about that.
I want to see. Yeah,
I want to see every like behind the scenes debate. I'm looking forward a lot to the behind the scenes of this show. And
I think that special is going to be really interesting.
Yeah. And before we wrap off as well, did you see the big group chat on Variety with the actors?
No, I didn't.
It was Paul Bettany, Elizabeth Olsen, Sebastian Stan, Anthony Mackie, and Tom Hiddleston. And they're all bullying Tom Hiddleston because they were like, we were all on the set at the same time, and you didn't let us go to Loki school. Because apparently Tom Hiddleston literally did like a 60-minute teaching session about Loki as a character, what it means, and like that's where Owen Wilson and stuff was. And apparently, like Anthony Mackie is like, they booked us, they filmed us on set, like they booked a time because they knew that we weren't be able to go. And it's funny because Elizabeth Olsen's laughing, and then Paul Bettany just goes, "Yeah, Tom, did you have like a laser pointer, like one of those long retractable sticks that points at them?" And Tom Hiddleston's going,
"Yeah, I need to watch this."
Elizabeth Olsen's laughing, and then my favorite thing is that Sebastian Stan's in all that makeup because he's in that movie about Pamela Anderson. I'll send you a link. I haven't watched it fully.
Please do.
I've seen that one bit, and it looks so good. Well, that's all we've got time for this week. Ash, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at AskJeffies. I have 2 podcasts. One is Rogue Podron, and one is OS Team, which is a new podcast I didn't have the last time we recorded, which is a podcast all about video game music. So yeah, and you can find everything I do at AskJeffies on Twitter.
Perfect. And you can find me on Twitter at CMWASHBY. I'm also a host of the Imperial Senate podcast, and I have my own other shows on Patreon. I am planning to make them available for everyone, and I'm going to change up my Patreon soon. So if you're interested in helping supporting me, I recommend doing that, please. And hopefully I'll be able to have some more content for people, and you can help support me in making it. But until next time, that's all we've got time for. Thank you. See ya.